Hi, this is Mrs. Jones, and in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to rotate a figure using GeoGebra and show you what happens to the coordinates when those rotations are at right angles or angles that are multiples of 90 degrees, like 90, 180, or 270 degrees around the origin. And we're going to be going just around the origin in this video. You can rotate around any point, but what happens to the coordinates gets considerably more complicated. So we're going to keep it nice and simple in this class. All right, so first, when I set up the GeoGebra here, I use the settings over on the right-hand side, and I'm showing axes. I'm also showing a grid and snapping it to the grid so that my coordinates all turn out to be nice, even numbers that are easy to look at. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a point using this tool over here and place it at the origin because that's what I'm going to rotate around. Earlier, I created this figure using this other tool here, the polygon tool, and just snapped to those points and closed it up and made this figure. So the whole figure will move as one piece. So I've made the point, and then I'm going to go down to my transform tools down here and pick the second tool, which is rotate around a point. And when I do that, this little help will come up that tells me to select the object to rotate and the center point, and then to enter the angle. So that helps remind me what order I need to do things. So I'm going to select the polygon, then select the point. I get this little pop-up which has me put in an angle. I'm going to make it 90 degrees, and we're going to go counterclockwise. Now think for a minute, where do you think counterclockwise is going to make this figure show up? Well, there it is. It's in quadrant number 2. It went counterclockwise. And let's look at what happened to the coordinate points. So if we look at point D up here at the top, we see that its original coordinates were 9, 12. So the x value is 9, the y value is 12. And you can see over in the rotated figure that those values, or at least the absolute value of the values of x and y, have swapped places. So now the 9, which was previously what x was, is now the value for y. And 12, the value for y, its opposite, negative 12, or you can think about it as 12 multiplied by negative 1, is now the coordinate for x. And you can see the same thing has happened to all the other coordinates. So for instance, 5, 6 on point C has become negative 6, 5. All right, let's try another rotation. We're still using the rotation tool, so we pick the figure again, the origin, and then this time we're going to put in 90 degrees and go clockwise. And so that figure shows up down here in quadrant 4. Now, something very similar happens. Looking again at point D, 9, 12 has become 12, negative 9. So again, the x and y values have switched positions, but in this case, it's the y value that now takes on a negative value, which makes sense because it's down here below the x-axis where all the y values are negative. But it hasn't shifted over into this other half of the coordinate system where the x values are negative. So that kind of makes sense. All right, we're going to rotate one more time the original figure around the origin, this time 180 degrees. Now it doesn't really matter if we go counterclockwise or clockwise. When we go 180 degrees, it's going to end up over here. And you can see on the, again looking at this highest point, 9, 12 has now become negative 9, negative 12. So the x and y values are still in the same position, but both of them have become negative. And when you think about that, that makes sense because as we went down, if you think about it in terms of steps of 90 degrees, if we went first down into this quadrant, they would swap places. The y value would become 9, negative. And then if we then rotated another 90 degrees in the clockwise direction, they would swap again, putting them back in their original positions. And then the y value, which had been 12, is now that one becomes negative. So it all kind of makes sense if you think about it that way. All right. So one thing we'll do is you're going to have the opportunity to make some kind of cool designs using rotations. So I just want to show you that really quickly. One of the things you can do is using this edit tool with the little dotted line box. You can pick that. You can select everything, which is a little dangerous to do. You don't want to go deleting too much right here because you could lose a lot of work. But you can do that, and it pops up a little menu where you can color things in or you can delete. You don't want to do that. You want to pick this one here in the middle with the two A's. And with that one, you can turn off and on labels. And that will clean up your design a lot, so it looks nicer. And we can also take off the grid. Go no grid. That looks a little bit better too. I'll leave the coordinates for just a minute here. And then you can make rotations that are not 90 degrees. So again, going back to our original figure, picking around the origin. And this time we'll go 45 degrees counterclockwise. And we can make another one going clockwise. And we can put in any values there so we can get lots of these going around. And you see we make this kind of nice, I don't know if you call it a flower or a star pattern. And what's fun with this is then go back to the selection tool, which you can do either by picking the basic tools, the arrow, or they've got this large spot here because you often want to go back to that, so it makes it easy to do. And with that, you can grab a point, you can move it around, and you see all the figures move with it. So you can really have fun making kind of a cool shape and having an interesting design. We can turn off those coordinate axes too, and that makes it a little bit prettier. And so we can move these things around and have a lot of fun with it. Now, if we try to grab one of these points down here, you see it doesn't move because it's dependent on this original figure. So when you make your design, you need to remember like what your original shape you started with, because that's the one that you're going to be able to manipulate and control and make some kind of fun designs. So remember, you can come back to this video anytime. Watch it again if you have questions or if you need to review concepts. Have a lot of fun making transformations.